Hi, so this video here is going to be about UV mapping. What I want to do here is I have this model that was built by one of my students here, and we're going to take this. He put in a lot of detail into the modeling here, and you can see there's all these really cool details here in terms of the modeling, and he's even gone in and put some different sorts of materials here to represent the wood and the different sorts of stones and things, and so it kind of looks really kind of interesting here already. And depending on the sort of the style that we're going for, I mean, it could be what we want to keep, but what I'm going to show you here is how we can actually apply images onto this object here to make it look like even more interesting. So, suppose like instead of building all this stuff here, we wanted to paint in the stones, or maybe just just paint in, like, I don't know, like dust or something on the side of the walls or something, or perhaps like the grain of the wood or something. That'd be kind of interesting to see. I mean, I'm almost missing it now that I mentioned it. I'm almost missing it here. I really would like to see that, you know. So we can do that without a lot of fuss by using the UV mapping. Before getting into this model here, I wanted just to step back here and show you a little bit about basically what UV maps are. So every object that you're ever going to create in Maya, it kind of already has a sort of a UV map um, that's created for you. So here you can see, let's take these two examples here. You take the cube. Um, let's go up here to this window here that says UV, right? Um, and you're going to bring up the UV editor. And once again, this is the UV window that's accessible from, you're going to be in the modeling mode. You can go here to UV editor from UV, and you're going to get this window here. And typically I'm using 2018 here. I realize it's this version may be a little older than some of the ones that you guys have, but it's the concept is just the same. Um, this is the UV editor, and it pretty much is, you know, it's been very similar for a long time. All the things that I'm going to be talking about here today, they've been there for a long time too. Um, the UV toolkit is something that sort of you know, it's become more handy now that you know, it's a way of organizing all the commands there, and I like it a lot. Um, Anyway, let me show you what these UVs are. So here, long story short, let's zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to right click, select face here, for example, and as I hover over the faces here, you can see this here in the 3D viewport and the stuff that I'm seeing here on the what you call the UV editor. It's the same thing. So you're seeing like these faces here are sort of being highlighted and the same thing. And so basically this sort of upside down T thing here, this is basically like the box that was cut open and then just laid out into two-dimensional space. That's what the UV editor is, and that's what kind of what UVs mean. It's kind of like let's say it's like it's like how an image gets applied to a 3D object. So maybe it's like the projection space or something, if you want to think about it that way. Let me show you here just in case. So UVs, you know, a UV. Let's just talk about this here. So I've got a vertex here. So if I select, say, this vertex here, right? And you can see here, I've highlighted that little corner here, and basically it's showing me here this vertex here and this one are highlighted yellow. So basically, that's the same thing. It was just cut open. Now, what the difference here from the UV is the UV is like it's that point in this 2D space here. So that doesn't matter here in 3D space. It's just the same thing. So if I select it here, you'll see it selects two UVs, right? But here, this is just that one UV space, or one UV here. It's kind of like a vertex here, but it's in 2D space. So I actually made a texture for this here, and let me just show you kind of what I did here. I already went ahead and did it. Let's make the um, I don't know. Let's make a new blend. He has a lot of materials on him. So here's my new material, and it says here blend 2. And one tip I want to give you guys is just so I know what I can use and what I don't want to touch. It's probably a good idea to say, you know, this is my sample test material, and here this is a blend, and so you're going to see certain things that I can do to this sort of material that you know that are just specific to this model of what you call a shader. That's how it reacts to light here. So here with the color, for example, I'm just going to mess with this one here. I'm going to click this little checkered box here. Instead of picking a color, I'm going to give it an image this time, and I'm going to assign a node here to the color. And here you have this window here that says create render node. So here I already have a file here that I'm going to pull up. So I'm going to go to File, and let's point it. Let's point it to the location on my computer here that I'm just pulling up here really quick. All right, so here, this is where I have this. I'm going to pull this up here. I made a sort of a game die here for this, and there's a couple different things that we can do with this here. With that one image here, you could make it look like a die or whatever. What do we do here? There we go. All right. So you can see here, like each of these sides here, it has a different side. I did this all in like in Illustrator, or you can do it in Photoshop or whatever. But my point is, what UV mapping lets you do is it lets you select. Well, it lets you lay out different sides of your model so that they can, you can paint them differently. So you can say that I want this side to be side number 3 and this side to be side number 5 and so on. So that's basically what UV mapping is about, and that's kind of why you should care for it. It's only by laying out the UVs that you're actually going to be able to paint onto the sides of this model and make it look like really cool. But it all starts, the base of this is all with a good UV layout. So okay, so this is much more complex than our cube here. And for starters, our cube was just a box where it's like this. This is, you can see here, this is many groups which have like individual little pieces here, and it's quite a lot. So for starters, let's keep things simple here. I'm going to take this box here, and I'm going to show you guys a trick here. I only want to focus on this box here for now, or I should say the main structure of the building. I'm going to go to Display. Let's go to Hide Unselected Objects, and you can see there's a little shortcut for this. It says Alt H, so that's one I always have at my fingertips here, and you can just do that, and that gives you this. So this is much simpler to understand, and yeah, this is easy to understand here. So okay, um, this is what we're working with, and I need to basically cut this up into separate sides. Let me put it this way. Let's say that this was like a paper model sitting on my table here, and I need to print it on my. I need to run it through a printer. to print things onto it here. So I need to have like I need to cut some of the sides open and then just stretch it out. That's what the UV mapping is sort of about. And let's take a look at what this looks like here. So as far as the main structure here, which I actually really like, it's very, very simple. I just love sort of like these simple approaches to things here. So basically, the main structure kind of resembles what the cube already was doing. What I'm going to do here, we could do this a couple different ways. So one way, well, the first thing I want to talk about here is this concept of a projection mapping. And what projection mapping means is, let's go over here. First of all, for anything to appear here in the UV editor, you have to have it selected here. So that's why I hid everything else, because I only want to focus on this, you know, on this specific object here. So here, UV editor. You're right, of course. This is what I have here, and let's go over here, and I'm going to start with this this sort of projection mapping here. It's called planar mapping here, and what planar mapping is, like the name sort of suggests, it's meant to sort of project something out from a direction onto a plane. And this is, I think I may have mentioned this before, maybe not in this video here, but when you see these little boxes here in Maya, this always means like there's more you can do to this command. So if you click on the box and not just the command, you'll see the specifications of that command. So if I do this, so this is the window that comes up with the planar mapping options. I really want this window available here because this is what gives me the most essential function of the planar map, which is to basically choose how I want to project this from. Let's put this here on the side because I want to show you, you know, what we get from doing some different things. So I think as I understand this here, I want to hit this from the front. Just for starters, I want to hit it from the front axis here. So if I look at this, you know, whatever tool you have, say the move tool, not this, but this gives you a good picture of this here. This is the axis I'm going for here. So I want that blue axis, and that, as I can see here in the little compass down here, that's the Z axis here. So I want to project from the Z axis, right? And let's just go ahead and apply that so you guys can see what that looks like here. And you see here, it looks a little funny at first, and it doesn't look quite proportional. Let me show you something here. I don't actually have a texture on this yet, so I'm going to turn that little thing off. This is going to make more sense later, but let me show you this little guy right next to it here. This is really, really useful here. So if I hit this, you get this sort of this little helper texture. Come on, there you go. And, oh, this is a perfect representation here of this, you know, of projection mapping, because here the goal of making a really good looking UV map here is you pretty much want to have these things here all be like perfect squares, as perfect as you can get them here. And if they're perfect here, then chances are the profile in the UV editor and, you know, the real thing, they're going to look very, very similar here. So yeah, so this is great. I think this looks really good here. And if we turn it around here, it looks great on the back here. However, on the back here, because I was projecting from this direction, we're kind of seeing the sort of like the thing in reverse. So that might be something that we want to fix. If we want, if we want a front and a back, and I'll show you how to separate that in just a second. But let me show you something else before we get to that here. What about this here? So the example that I always do, like in the physical classroom, we typically will have like projectors and things, and you know, it's just an example right there because like the way the projector hits the board, you know, the angle, it determines like the size and the proportion of the image. So if that thing is tilted, it's not going to look quite right. And in this case here, it's not really hitting the wall at all. It's just sort of like just brushing by it here, and so you don't really get any resolution for that side. So we're actually going to need a different projection for that, and this is where it starts getting interesting here. So we've got a couple different sides on this here. Let's take let's select the faces now. This is what I'm saying here. I'm really happy with the front and the back sides, but not the rest here. So let's do this. This is the easiest thing I can do. I'm going to just look at it from, whoops, I'm going to look at it from this side. Come on, just go over there. There we are. Let me just draw a marquee over this thing here, like that. And I'm going to just, just to, as a refresher here, Control Shift and drag. That adds to the selection. So no matter what, I'm adding to the selection and not taking away. If I press just Control, I'm subtracting from the selection and not adding here. Shift is basically, when you hold down Shift, it's just like toggling the thing on and off here. So let's just make sure we get rid of all this stuff. And just for safety here, I think I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. Let's get rid of that. All right. Well, yeah, that looks pretty good. This bottom part here, I don't know if I care about it too much, but we might. Yeah, well, let's keep that here, and I'll show you. Yeah, let's definitely keep that here. So I'll show you how to separate that right here, and by doing that, we'll take care of the back and the front as well. We'll separate them because this is the thing that's holding everything together. So here, this time, I'm going to hit this from a different axis. I need to hit it from the side. So if we look at the side axis, that's the red arrow here, which is pretty much telling me it's the X here in the viewport here. So I'm going to just select the little project from X, and let's apply that. And okay, so here I get that sort of thing again. And this is pretty, pretty bland, and that is really good, because it's very easy to work with this here. However, I'm just going to, again, just make sure that these things are looking like squares as much as possible here. And another thing that's kind of interesting, we're not really dealing with this here because we're pretty much starting from scratch here, and it's giving us what we want, and we're kind of in charge here. But just so you know, the squares that are the same texture, I'm sorry, the same size, those will give you a really sort of a predictable texture. So it means like it guarantees that the texture resolution, like if you paint it in Photoshop, it's going to be the same size on this side as it is on this side. So here, this is looking pretty good. Let's move this aside here, and this is the thing I want to show you here. So it looks like I've got two pieces here pretty much, and let me just show you something here because I want to introduce you to a concept here. So basically, I've got these two pieces, like a side piece and a front piece. Let's jump back into 3D. Let me press space. Let's jump into this view so you can see a little better here. So check this out. All right. Oops, let's do this. I'm going to just select this. It's F to center or frame to the model here. And like as I was saying here, I've got these side pieces here in the UV editor, and then I've got these front pieces here. However, my latest projection here was to do the whole side piece here, and I selected all the way around this here, and I hit the bottom here, and I also hit the top. And so that means by doing another projection down the side here, I've kind of ripped this model, or the front and the back, apart here. So let me show you something here. These two pieces, these are actually in fact three, and so I basically have got three shells in my my UV layout. And what a shell is, it's like a unique group of faces, or maybe like an island of faces, if you will. And you can select the shell, if you know it's a shell here, and these are two, one sitting on top of the other. And I have, like I mentioned earlier, I think, I have a little bit of a problem here where one, this is facing this direction, where the other one is the same thing, but it's inverted, and so I've got to separate them out. So what I could do here is in the UV editor, I could just double click one of those sides here, and that gets me the front side, I guess. Just going to move it out of the way for now. I'll press W to get my move tool. Let's move it out of the way here, and you can see now that's kind of revealed that other shell underneath, and I can just take this, and what I meant to do with this is just to flip it the other way around. So here is where my UV toolkit comes in handy, and I'm going to just select this here. You know, like I think I was saying here, one of the tools that I really like is under the transform here. If you scroll down a ways, you'll see under tools. I imagine that this is most of the time it's closed, so you can just open up the little arrows, tools, and I'm sorry, transform tools, and you should there you go. Rotate, and you get a little sort of a value here that you can specify, like how many degrees you want to rotate. Well, in this case, I'm going to keep it here, but more importantly, for what I'm trying to do here, in this example, I just want to flip it around, you know, the U or the V value, and that's pretty much like equivalent of the X and Y. I guess they give us these funny names here so we don't confuse them with actually like X, Y, and Z 3D positions here. This is like 2D space. But anyway, I mean the U value here. And if we flip that around here, watch what's going to happen to this U and this little 1 here. That's why they put them on, so we can tell them. It flips around here. So that's what I want. So I now have a front side and a back side of the house, and they're unique. I'm going to just scoot this a little closer together, and let's do the sides of the house now. With the sides of the house, what I want to do here is this is all one piece, and the things that are holding it together here right now are this top part here, right, and this bottom part here. So I'm going to just carefully just select the little faces that are meant to be sort of vertical here, and let's create a little projection for these, you know, like a vertical projection on the y-axis, right? And there, I'm going to do that. Let's just make sure that this is about the right size that we need. Let's see. Grow that out here. Yeah, that will work. If I pinch that down, does that work? That works. Yeah, I think, is that right? Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Something like that. So yeah, so this is kind of what I want here. And now I've got these two different pieces. One quick note, these were two different shells. So let's just move this out of the way. I'm toggling that checker thing on and off by just hitting this little button here. You can turn that thing on and off. So I have this beam down the center of the house that I want to separate that out. Easiest thing for me to do is just grab the bottom, separate it out here. And I want to show you guys something here. So just like we were able to rip off those separate pieces from the UV layout, I can actually sew them back on. And this gets really, really handy when you're trying to sort of organize your things into some layout that makes sense for you. I mean, that's what UV layout is all about. Yeah, that's probably the most important thing here to take away here. Is that, you know, the point of doing a UV layout is so that you can take this model apart in a way that makes sense for you to paint over it here. So let me show you something here. Like I was saying earlier in the lecture, you'll have, you know, you can have this edge here. We're sort of cutting it apart here, but like this, when I right click here, I'm going to edge. You see, I'm selecting this little edge here, and it's highlighting the corresponding piece on the other shell. So these are meant to fit together, you see. So we're actually talking about the same thing. It's just ripped apart into a separate UV shell. So first thing that this is telling me here is this is kind of inverted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Face and just double click that shell, and let's come down here to my handy transform tools and the UV toolkit here. And I'm going to flip this around on the U axis or the U direction here. And here we have this command here. You can see now this is a little bit more predictable here, and they kind of plug into the right places here. Let me show you something here. So by doing this, it doesn't really matter. I know those things. I'm sort of jumping back and forth between the two shells. You don't have to do that, but I want to show you it's the same thing. So I've got these things selected. It's all the same thing, and I can actually sew these things back together here by using this this command here that says stitch together here. So when you do this, it's really handy because that will just sort of pop to to that face there, and now this is once again that's one shell. As for this here, I can do the same thing. Let's take this and oh wait, the whole point of doing this was because yeah, that's what I wanted here. So the reason I took that beam off here was so that I could access the other side and tear it apart into different shells. So we could keep that here. I don't know that I like this too much. I might just get rid of that, but I really do like the side separated out like that, in my opinion here. I'm going to go down here to the toolkit here, and again you have this this little thing here that says rotate, and I'm just going to flip it across here. Let me check something out here. Let me see which way this goes. So okay, so that there. Oh, okay, so that's pretty easy. This will just plug right into that part here, so I could just select these pieces here. Again, it doesn't really matter if you're which way you select them here. And let's go to cut and sew, and I'm going to use that stitch together command here, just like that. And that plugs in, just like I said, it plugs in right there to the top. I really do like that. That's really nice and neat. And I think I actually would keep it here. Another option you could do here that could be kind of interesting here. I don't know. It seems I just don't like to think this way. Just turn it upside down. I like to see those things on this side. But it's up to you how you organize your UV layout. I think the bottom thing is the bottom line is what makes sense for you to paint over it here, and and how does it fit in your UV layout. So the next part here that we haven't really talked about here, because we're not really done with this model. The next part here is just fitting this into some sort of layout that makes sense. So like in the end, the goal of this is to put an image on this, and usually my thinking is if I can get away with putting everything I need on one image, I think that's pretty great. That's less resources for me to deal with here. And so I'm going to try to get the most I can out of this. And like I was saying here, I don't know that I want this here. And if I had to pick, like if I'm not going to see this, and I had to pick like resolution that I could be giving these pieces that I am going to see, then I think that thing is going to go. I'm not going to keep that thing here. So let's just take this here. Let's see. I think right now the best thing I can do with this is let's just rip this off into a separate shell. Sorry. And you can see the command here, Control-Shift-X. That's usually what I do. And I'm just going to put this over here somewhere. Yeah, that'll work. I guess, I can put it over here. That's not going to get in my way. I really don't care about that too much. I think, yeah, let's just keep it like this for now, and then I'll see if I can delete it or whatever. That's not going to stay there. But yeah, this is my UV layout for now, and I'm going to proceed to doing some other parts here. So here we are with this piece, and I'm kind of happy with the way we mapped it out, but now we got to get to the rest of this model. And I'd actually hidden everything away, so I'm going to have to unhide it. Quickest way to do that is to go here to Display, show and then show last hidden, and you can see the shortcut for that is Control Shift H. And you know, because that's kind of the order I did things in, I hid something um, using the Alt H command. You know, then I can show the last hidden here by doing this, and we get our model back here. Another way, let me just go back here. Another way to do that here, so you can see this model is organized in a group, and you can just open that group up here, and you can see this is the only part that's visible here. You see, so that's going to be sort of you know, in regular, let's say it's sort of white text, where it's like all the other things in the outliner here are grayed out. So anytime you see something that's grayed out, it means it's hidden. And what I could do is one by one, if you wanted to here, I could just select that stuff and just press Shift H to unhide, and you get that stuff back here. But just for me, I think the easiest thing that I'm going to do here is just go to Display, Show, and then Show Last Hidden, and we get everything back here. So here, I've got quite a bit of pieces here to work with here. And let me just check something out here just to see what I'm going to tackle. So these pieces are all pretty unique, so I think I'll do this later. However, this part here, this would be kind of interesting here. I mean, you know, really with with things like this, it's just going to be more tedious than educational for me to show you guys just all this stuff here. So I'll do that I'll do that on my own, and then you know then come back to it later with to show you guys here. But what I did want to show you guys here is this stuff here. So I've got all these little stones here that, you know, they're not terribly important, but for example, something like this, this could be the same sort of mapping that I use for this stone here, for example. So what I could do here, let's go over here to UVs, and let's go to automatic here. Oh, I'm sorry. I am going to do that here, but let me show you the UV editor. Excuse me. And you can see these are all basically just squares and stuff. They don't make a lot of sense just yet. You see, this is my house, and this is kind of nice. But this part here, this is like just a sort of a generic stone, and I might give them. I don't care too much about those things. I might give them like some different sorts of mappings here. We could adjust that later, but I'm not terribly concerned with how they turn out here. These are just little detail stones. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create like one map for all these little stones here. And to do that here, let me just do one of these stones using the automatic mapping. Let's take this guy here. I like that guy. And I'm going to go here to UV. And here we have the automatic map. Now that doesn't mean that, you know, this is an easy button that it just does everything for you. When you see those easy buttons, you know, when you see things like that, chances are you probably want to stay away with them stay away from them until you understand them a little more. So this, let me just pull up the option box for you to see what this gives us here. I don't usually fiddle around with this too much here, but you have the planes, which basically show you what sorts of how many sides it's going on, it's looking at. I'm pretty, you know, in this case, 6 sides, just like the box here. So I'm going to just go ahead and apply that. Let me go here to UV. Usually this is what I do, just apply an automatic map to this. I've got this selected, of course, and you just press automatic, and that does that. And you can see pretty straightforward, especially for a simple object like this. Now, like I was saying, don't expect this to be like an easy button. In this case, it really is easy, and I can just see right here the different pieces that it's ripped apart for my model. Now, basically, what this is doing is Maya is making the decision for how to organize my UV layout here, and then it's up to me. You know, if you want something nice here, it's up to me to, you know, it's up to you to put it together. So I'm going to use this feature here to stitch things back together, and this is pretty straightforward, I think. You know, that's pretty good. I can see how that might fit. Let's see what that gives me here, like right here. And what about this? Yeah, see, that fits onto that. That will fit onto this. And maybe we can just do, let's just put that one right there. and yeah, there we go. We'll just fit this into like a little cross, I guess. I don't know. Probably not the most efficient UV space here. Let me see what this gives me here. Okay, that's a complete thing. And then here, yeah, I guess that's probably the best I can do. Yeah, I guess what I could do too is I could just maybe just take this here and then just so, well, maybe. I mean, really, it doesn't really matter all that much, you know, just whatever makes sense here for you. It doesn't have to be necessarily like this. What I like to do though is sometimes, you know, if you're going to paint this here, then, you know, you want things to connect up to each other here. So let's see. I think what's important to me is having, yeah, there we go. I got that strip around this part here, and these are just the two pieces that don't quite fit. So this is cool. I like that. Um, you know, and this is just sort of a simple layout here. One thing that I'm seeing here is that this is pretty much sort of fitting the layout for this. Let me just see what we got here. Yeah, so this part might take some adjustment. You see it's sort of squashed together here. So what I'm going to do is just bring this up here and pull the little UVs here. I'm going to right click, go to UVs, select those two little vertices. Let's bring that up until it makes a little bit more of a square. That feels a little better. Again, my goal with this thing here is to get all those things looking pretty much like a square. So what's this? Okay, so that means that this needs some adjustments too. And I think what I'm going to do with that is just right click, go to UVs, and take this and let's just, yeah, there we go. Just give it a little nudge here, and those are a little bit more square-like now. And this is what I'm talking about here. I don't know if you guys can see this here. So as I zoom in here, you see, let's grab this. I'm going to take that whole UV layout here, and you see this is the whole point of a nice UV map here. Is you see those little squares, they wrap around the object here. So it means if I paint here and in Photoshop, like if I've got like little smudges and stuff, and they slip into the next face here, that's okay. You know what? I'm going to get a very sort of a natural sort of wrapping texture that wraps around that object. That's the whole point of the UV map here. Let's see, what is this about here? This, okay, so that is not quite, that's not quite square just yet. So let's see if I pull this up here. Does that give me something? Yeah, that looks a little better. What about this bottom guy here? Let's take this. This one is going to look a little tricky. It can be a little tricky here because of the angle. But I suppose we'll do something like that. I guess that's more or less, yeah, that's more or less like this. Let's do this here. I'm going to just take this and let's give this a simple planner map again. So let's hit that from the Y. Sure, that's all we want here. And then I can just scale it down here. So we get the same size of thing here, right? And then finally, I can just sew that back on to this. There we are. Oops, other way around. So I'm going to have to flip this upside down, I guess, because it's inverted. And just a way to check that too here. Let's check this out here. Let's go to the vertex, right? And if I hover, just like I was showing you guys with the edges here, so these two things here, right, those should be selected. Let's turn this off so we can see. There we go. So this should be the equivalent of that, and then this should be the equivalent of this. So what that's telling me here is that this is kind of inverted here. So I'm just going to take this this face, and we can flip it around, like I said, horizontal and vertical, X and Y. So let's go here and flip flip it on the vertical axis, and that means that if I take that one, that corresponds to the top vertex,
corresponds to the bottom vertex. And so I can just simply now, I can just stitch this back together, and there it goes. So that's going to be a perfect fit. And plus, let's turn the little checkers back on. You'll see, well, yeah, I guess it's acceptable. That's more or less like, I guess, what I kind of wanted there. Let's see. Maybe a little smaller. There we go. There we go. I'll be happy with that. Okay, so that's my layout, I guess. And we'll let's just take this here, and that's going to be my base. I'm going to ignore this part for now. Let's just worry about. In fact, let's just put it back on the main space here. And it doesn't matter that it's overlapping. I'll deal with this later. This is, for now, this is going to, let's just treat it like a different texture. Your model can have multiple textures if you want. Like I said, I think it's a good idea to plan things out so that things fit on one single image. But I'll just keep it here. Now, all right, so I did a stone. Wow. And now it looks like I've only got like 10,000 more to go. So this could be a very, very long video, or I could just copy the map here, because I don't really care about. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's not like it's as important as something like the house. I don't. I mean, I could just share the texture here with. It doesn't have to be that specific. So I mean, I could get around like with sharing some resources for the texture of this stone, for example, here, for this case here. But let's have a look at how that's done. So you can see here, this is great, and I took some time to map this out, and now we get to this one here, and it still looks like like the default map here. So how do we copy things over here? So what we could do is I could select this one object here, and then shift select the other one here, and you can see when I select multiple objects, for example, the house here, and why is that spilling underneath? Let's just fix that here. That's bugging me just a little bit. There we go. All right, so that's now in one quadrant here. So that looks more or less ready. All right, so all right, so I've got this thing here, and then this, and you can see they're in kind of different UV maps here. So I want to take this map here, and I want to share it with this. So I'm going to take this and then shift select that, and you can see when I select multiple objects here, such as the house and this, you can see they all fit on top of each other, and I can see everything that I have selected here. So let's go with this, and I want to copy that map to this guy here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to let's go to mesh, and then I'm going to go over here to transfer attributes. Let's click this little box here, and here this is typically I think it's set to world or something here. Under attribute settings, you'll see sample space. I'm going to set the sample space to topology, right? And when I do that, I'm just going to go ahead. Everything else you can leave alone here. So when I do that here, I'm just going to apply this and watch what happens to the layout here. So I'll just apply this here, and now it looks like it's the same. So for example, if I take this one here, that's what we started, and I spent some time doing that. This one is now the same thing, and I'm happy with that. And if you wanted to maybe change some things with it, you can. I'm just going to, for example, here, I'm just going to flip this one about like that side here, and so you're going to see. I mean, if we had a texture going on here, I could take advantage just to give it like a slight variation. I could take map it to a different portion of the image, and maybe it would look a little different here. But I think my thinking behind this stuff here is I would rather just use a generic texture and just do some sort of like simple maps for this here. But yeah, with this here, once I've got this laid out here, I can just repeat the last command here, and I think that would be Yeah, that would simply be, watch, let's take this guy and then this. Well, no, that's the one we did. Let's take this one. That one's probably not going to look too great, but I'll do it anyway. Um, Mesh, transfer attributes, right? And make sure that's on. I'll just press apply, right? So I did it once, and I know that, there we go. I know that's done. Let's just keep going here, and I'll select this bottom part here, this bottom stone, and I'll press G, right? G to repeat action. Well, yeah, it's not, obviously that's not how it starts, but G, I don't know why it is, but it's just to repeat the last command. So you press the G key on your keyboard. There it goes, and you can just repeat the last thing that you told Maya to do, whatever that is, you know. What's this? Oh, I missed that part here. So let's just do this part, and then this, and this. And I'll be done with this in no time here. And I'm not going to bore you guys to death by doing this. I'm just going to pause the video and come back to it. All right, so I'm progressing here with the map, and I did want to show you guys this. Maybe not that. Oh, there we go. Yes, I didn't do it all, but I did a number of sections here for this this stone, and I copied that over using the transfer attributes trick. One little trick that I do want to say at this point here, when I do that, you notice here I got one object selected, and the other ones here are all highlighted pink, and that's usually telling me when something's sort of highlighted pink, it means it's dependent on something else. So in this case, the selected object here. I guess I sort of overlooked this here. I didn't do this yet. But that's not the point here. What I do want to show you here is, I mean, this, you can understand how that's going to get done. I can just redo the whole thing, you know, redo the thing I've been doing here just to copy those attributes over to this, and I could get done with that, well, I'm not going to say in no time, but in some time. I do want to show you something else that I've not talked about, though. I'm going to apply the similar trick here for the tiles. This mapping gets a little bit more interesting here. So what I could do, of course, to map this out, let's go here to UV editor, and I could just give this a planner map. So this isn't, I mean, it's not all that bad, but I don't know. I think I could probably do a little bit better with this here. I guess, you know, that the automatic map is going to give me something like this, and I'm not you know, terribly crazy about, you know, just the way it ripped it up into all sorts of different pieces. I think I would rather just be dealing with a sort of a hexagonal shape here, and I would rather just set that up. The problem is when I did this here, let's go back here to object mode. Come on, there we are. So you can see. I guess I could take one of these. Let's. Yeah. So the key here is that I do have the transforms. I guess I do have the transforms. Excuse me. The transforms set up. So that's one way I could do that. I can, when I say the transforms here, it means like the positions and the rotation. So just for example here, if I press Control D to duplicate, right? Let's move that copy out of the way here, and let's zero out the values here for this here, right? I'm just going to enter all that in, and most importantly here, I'm going to take this rotation on the z-axis here, and there we go. So now it's flat. That's going to be pretty nice here. So I could just do a transfer. I'm sorry, a simple planner map. Blah. Simple planner map on that, and that's going to take care of my problem here from the y-axis. And from there, see, I love that. Yeah, that's great. You know, again, like I just love the simplicity of this here. You know, I could just, let's just take care of this and maybe rip off the other side pieces here. Just quickly, I guess while I have, you know, while I'm doing this, I'm a big fan of this sort of thing here. Let's just grab these bottom faces here. I want to grab Shift Control X is what I just pressed here. I'm going to tear that off here into a separate shell, so that now I have a top piece and a bottom piece. Now check this out. So, and you can see here. Let's look at the object itself. Let's turn off this thing here. So you can see that white line going around that. That means like that's the piece that I tore it off from here, and that's that's the seam. Now check this out. This I think when I was talking about modeling in a previous video here, I'm always saying, you want to really make a point of keeping your things in quads or square, four-sided polygons here. And one of the advantages of that is because you can quickly select um, these sort of things. I guess in this one it didn't do it, but normally, if you had something a little bit, it would make your life easier. Anyway, what I did here is I selected sort of the perimeter around this, or the edges around this this area here, and here's a cool trick here. There's actually a very, very handy little shortcut, or let's call it, yeah, like a little menu here. If you There's a handy little menu that can be used to sort of convert selections here. So the way I'm going to access that is I just selected the edges. The problem with this is, like I was saying earlier in this video here, is this edge, it's torn across two different shells. So the way around that here is I'm going to convert this selection to UVs by pressing Control, right, and then right click, and then here you see I can convert the selection to anything I want. So say you want to convert to vertices, then you can do that, and it's going to go to the vertices here, which are those little yellow things. So those are pretty much just vertices now. Whatever. I'm interested in the UVs, so I can press Control, right click, and let's convert that to the UVs. And there we go. So this is the stuff I'm interested in. And the reason I'm interested in this is because these are unique here. So right now it happens that I've selected them both, but I could use my subtract selection trick here by pressing Control, and I'm going to deselect it from this bottom face here. And so that means I've only got this on this top part here. And with this is kind of a neat trick here. I really like the layout of this, and I want to keep it that way. So I'm just sort of going to grow this out like that a little bit here, and that should be really, really easy for me to deal with. I don't know that I care terribly much about the side of this, but just to show you what's going on here, you see here I kind of do have some things going on here. I don't know that I like the stretching of that either, but I guess yeah, I guess we could work with that. Anyway, I don't know that this is thin enough that I might just just get by with this here. But I certainly like this layout here. It's easier for me to understand. If it were that big of a deal, I could just rip this stuff off and just map it out into a separate thing. But I just want to show you that that possibility here of sort of converting the edges into vertices here. Now the other way about this here that I could do, let's keep this handy here. I might want to go back to this here. Let me show you something else here. So a different way that I could have mapped this out here. Well, let's say let's do a planar projection here, and let's say for some reason this were I didn't have access to these transforms anymore, and I couldn't straighten it out perfectly the way this was. So what I'm going to do here is this cool little trick. Let me pull this up so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to go to UVs. Let's bring up the little planar projection options, the planar mapping options. And so far in this video, I've talked about X, Y, Z, and then we have this little guy here called camera. So what is that about? So what that is about is that's about whatever sort of axis you want. And I'm going to choose that by creating a camera. Whoops, create. Let's go to cameras. I'm going to make a standard camera here, and let's just select that camera here. Press W and manipulate the the transform position just like I would anything else. Let's flip that around here to 0, and let's see. Let me bring that guy up a little bit here, and let's look at that. At say, I don't know, we could look at that at whatever angle we want to deal with here. So let's say, this particular tile would be best sort of viewed at an angle like this. And and here's the cool thing about using a camera is you could go in here and say, you know what, I don't mean 91, I actually mean minus 90, and this isn't 42, it's minus 45. So we're looking at it now at like a perfectly 45-degree angle, or whatever you may need, just to view it like this. So now from here, let's take that little guy here, and I'm going to jump into, I realize we haven't talked about this here in this video at all, and you guys may know nothing about cameras, but if you want to change a camera here, you can go to Panels, go to Perspective, and you see normally I would have had just this this perspective camera, which is what comes with any old scene. Perspective. You see these little guys up here: perspective, top, front, side, and they're all sort of grayed out because they're invisible. Here is the camera, a new camera that I just created, and so if I just choose, you'll see it's going to show up here under perspective, house, model, camera, and that's the one I'm looking for. All right, so here we are looking at this this thing from this angle, and in my my camera, just like you would with anything else, I'm going to just sort of use the Alt plus the middle mouse button to sort of pan it into a position like that. I like this, and then of course, like you could actually select the camera here, and you can do anything you need to do, such as adjust the focal length and all sorts of stuff like that. Camera related stuff to look at it just exactly the way you want here. And then here now I could, at this angle, this is going to make more sense now. So I'm looking at this thing here. Let's pull up the planar projection options again. And this time I'm going to choose, instead of the X, just the standard X, Y, or Z axis, I'm going to look at it from this camera axis. So that means it's going to project a sort of a ray or an axis sort of coming out of the camera onto this thing, and that's the projection that I'm going to work with here. So if I press apply, this is what I'm going to get, and it looks like, it looks proportional to the camera that I'm looking for, looking through here, like so. So I could just do that and then just be done with it here. This is kind of handy here sometimes, if I want to work with some different parts here. So let's do it this way here. This conveniently only has two faces, so I'm going to do this one here at the same camera angle. Let's go back. Of course, it needs to have that camera, so let's jump into this camera, apply that, and there you go. I guess that was kind of silly. I could probably just ripped it off here. And just for the sake of completion here, let's see. Let's jump back in here. Yeah, there we go. Let's take this, and this time I'm going to just double click. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to double click the loop around this here. Let's rip that off into a separate shell. So I'm going to go to Cut and Sew, and I'm going to create a UV shell. Tear that off here. So now I have two very sort of predictable top and bottom shells. These guys, let's do this. This is probably a little sort of tedious here, but it'll be worth my while. So I'm going to go here to UV. Let's do, this time I'll just do the automatic map here, and that does this. Okay, that's not quite what I was expecting, but here's a trick. Let's see what these guys, all right, I see what this is doing here. So, oh, of course, that's actually what it's supposed to look like here. It's a little big. So, because that's really, if you look at it from the side here, that's kind of what this is doing here. So I guess what you could do is just maybe sort of, I like them a little bit more flat like that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then here, let's see what we get if we just sew these back on here like this. And let's go to Cut and Sew and stitch together. All right, tell you what, let's do this. Let's start sort of flat here. Does that work? Yeah, more or less. All right, so here, yeah, I'm gonna have to flip this the other way around. So let's take this and then just flip it this way. Uh, there we go. And stitch together. Oops. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. All right, so yeah, wow, it seems like a lot of work for not a whole lot, but it's it's fine. Um, do want to show you something here. This isn't that bad. I think though I don't care about this too much. It's just the side of this thing here, and I think I would rather deal with like a sort of a boring, predictable map for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all these UVs here, and here's a little trick too that I like to sort of flatten things out. You can just take this and just zero out the scale vertically. Same thing with this, and what you're going to get here is just a sort of a predictable straight line. And now with this, you see I think that's much better to deal with in terms of organization than than what we had before. And then from here, of course, I could uh, just stretch it out until it makes sense here. Oops. Oh, see, that's a little big. And I guess there we go. That looks good. So here, yeah, this is an awesome little map for that tile. And then from here, just to complete the rest of this thing, I could get done with this house pretty quick with the tiles here. Let's go ahead and kill this history. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, history is all the things you ever do you're ever doing on your model. Ever since I started modifying that thing, it's adding up here. So that adds up to your memory, and most importantly, any little thing I do that messes this thing up, it can mess up the model. So if I'm happy with this, I'm going to get rid of all these little instructions that can possibly like mess up the work I've done here. So I'm going to go here to edit, delete by type, and you have history, not to be confused with the non-deformer history. I guess in this case it doesn't matter terribly, but I'm just going to delete the history here, and all this stuff is going to go away. And then, and that's just the way it is now. So this is an awesome little map. I think, would be really smart of me would be, if I had all this stuff planned out, for example, uh, with this, I would just maybe try to get this on one map. So for example, here you see this layout here. Like I was saying earlier, I could probably start thinking about, well, you know what, I could probably fit a texture of wood here, and I could fit a texture of stone in here, and those are what you call like texture atlases. And you can start putting like multiple things in one image, so that's a little bit more like resource friendly. So if you're doing like a game or something, that's only one texture that the game has to load, for example here. I mean, you don't have to use just one texture, but it's just sort of a consideration for you here. But anyway, like if I thought about this earlier, of course, this is just an exercise here. Um, I could probably just pull this off here with one map. So, for example, here, let's say for just hypothetically here, let's just say that I really did want to fit this thing to this. So I'm going to select both of those models here. And let's go here to face, and I'm going to just select all that object here, and those are the faces pertaining to that specific object, and only that object, not the house frame, or whatever you want to call it, not the house structure itself. So I could just bring this down here, and now sort of by doing this here, you see I'm even like sort of fitting it to the scale here by sort of comparing the squares here. So that's kind of helpful, This is going to be a repeated texture, so I don't need to do by one. Maybe if I wanted to, I could use a couple variations. I think if I were doing that, I think what I would probably do is, yeah, this is going to be sort of generic texture, so I might just make like a little just sort of generic texture, and then just slightly offset the UVs a little bit one by one to give it a little bit of variety. And you can get a lot of variety just by doing that here. For the most part here, I think, yeah, for the most part here, I'm pretty much done. I didn't do this part yet, but we that's just a box. I'm not terribly concerned. I did this part here, which is sort of interesting. This part here I chose to do with an automatic map, much like I did the side of the tile here, and and I sort of organized it into a long strip like that. I do like to have these curves here because I kind of wanted to paint on them here, um, later on. So I'm going to just take my time with this and map it out, and I will do, in the next part here, I'll do another video here where I'm actually painting on this model here. I think, just before I end this here, there's some things I do want to show you here. So there's some things where I'm sharing, of course, I'm sharing the resources here with this. And this all worked fine because these little bricks here, they all have the same number of sides and stuff. And some of you guys may be wondering, well, why don't you do it here on this stuff? It's just wood. Well, yeah, but it's modeled in different ways. So, for example, I bet this and this that looks somewhat similar, but anything that's like different, like for example here, that's different geometry than this. So this is just a box where it's like this is now sort of a modified box. I think these are now unique, and there's no way I could possibly share that, if I did. Let's go ahead and lay this out really quick. Just for example, I'm going to do a simple map. Let's just say that this is the layout that we want, right? And I'm going to try to transfer these attributes here to this thing here. So let's go here to mesh, and I'm going to do transfer attributes. Again, topology. If I apply that, you see it doesn't give me anything because it doesn't know what to do with it, because that's different geometry here. Yeah, so this is the same. This is just a simple box, and it will let me do this. So if I press G, right, to repeat the last command, then it did that. You see, it now shares the layout of this here. There was no way to do that here because it just doesn't know what to do with it here. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have for like the basic techniques behind this. If I just continue doing more of this, it's just going to be more of the more repetition of this stuff here. What about this? Okay, yeah, and actually no. Let me show you one last example here that might be pretty useful here. This is a doorknob here. So a different kind of texture that you have here. This started out probably as a sphere, and when this was modeled, and then here, I guess I kind of do like that layout here for the sphere, sort of. We can do some different things here. So I think what I'm thinking about here is let's do a cylindrical map. So let me talk about how the cylindrical map works. By default, you don't really have a lot of options here. So by default, it just makes you cylinder as if it's sitting upright in the world. So it's just like this house. It's going to be facing that orientation in relation to the grid, no matter what, right? So here, UVs, and I'm going to go to well, forget this this option boxes. It's not really going to do anything for me here. I'll just do this, and you see by default, you don't really see the manipulator here. It's just sitting upright like that in the world. You can kind of see it in here, right? You can access that in the inputs here. So if you go here to your little channel box, you just got to look for it here. Here we are, polycylindrical projection here, and we are going to rotate this. Let's see, I believe that is the z-axis running down that side. So if I rotate this to 90 degrees, there we go. You see, so now that cylinder is oriented with the doorknob here, because, you know, again, the forward axis of that house, let's see if I can show you. There we go. The forward axis of that house is the z-axis, and yeah, and that's pretty much sort of pointing out in that direction. That's kind of what I want. I like the sort of the orientation of this, just not the size. Last thing, there's some parts that I'm not going to be very happy with here, which are the caps here. So if we just quickly just look at what a cylinder is, let me just put this down here. Let's create a cylinder, right? Cylinder is like this, and if you look at the default mapping that comes on this here, this is the way it makes you a cylinder. So you can see I've got the walls here, I've got a top and a bottom here. So, you know, in here, this pretty much had a sort of an open spherical map, and I kind of undid that in this case. But what I'm going to do here with this, wait, do I still have that thing selected? Yes, I do. All right, let's take this and actually let's do Alt-H. This is kind of getting a little bit under my skin here. There we are. Let's look at this from the front view, wherever that is. Front or top? Yeah, that'll work. All right, so what I'm going to do here is from this view, which is really handy, I'm going to just select a portion of vertices, I'm sorry, of faces, like maybe this much right here. And this time I'm going to just, with this, I'm going to, I mean, I guess we could do a planar map, or what we could simply do here as well. I guess what we could do here as well is you can take the UVs and let's try this. I'm going to just take the UVs here and I'm going to just start stretching them out here, and you can see you get a sort of a different effect here by pulling them here. Now, one trick that you can do as well with this here is you could still use the soft selection. I don't know if you guys remember this. Soft selection is in your tool settings here, and if you come way down here to the bottom, you just have to enable it here. Actually, you know what? I'm just walking you through this. I don't use this like this, but you know you can check it on here, and then by pulling the little slider up and down, you can get a higher or low. Whoop, not this. Is that right? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, by manipulating the slider up and down, you can get a sort of a higher or sensitivity to it. What about this here? Oh, that's just the appearance. Anyway, what I actually do is I will select the things I want, right? Let's just deal with this piece way down here at the bottom. Let me turn this off, and then here, just quickly, just to cut to the chase here, the way I turn this on and off is I don't go here at all. I just press B for brush, right? And that turns soft selection on. And here, I'm just going to select this stuff here, and I've grabbed the vertices that I want, and that's just grabbed just those specific vertices here. I'll press B to access my soft selection, and then I'll hold down B to make my brush bigger or smaller here. You see, as I increase the setting here, whoops, it grabs more of that, you know, of that for me here, and you can get a little bit of a bit better effect here. So I don't know. I think that effect here could be kind of interesting. I'm not terribly, I'm not like completely satisfied with it, but I think I like where it's going here, so I could do that. The other way I wanted to show you here was, let's just put this back down. The other way I wanted to show you here was we could just do it that way. Specifically, if you have like, let's say like a sort of a more of like a cylindrical, less round doorknob, what I could just do is just map this as a cylindrical map here like I did before, and then just uh, come down here to this section. Whoops, sorry. Take this, and let's get rid of the soft selection there by pressing B. And then here, I'm just going to give this a planar map running down, I believe that's the x-axis on this model. Yep, x-axis. Oh no, am I wrong? I don't know where I am anymore. Yes, I believe that is, oh, it is, wow, okay, weird. Oh yeah, okay, so yes, my apologies. So that's the object's y-axis, but it really is the x-axis in the world, and that's the way I'm orienting from here. So in the world, I'm going to select the x-axis here and press apply. And what that gives me here, if we look at the UV editor here, it gives me a great big circle, and you know, this is pretty handy. I'm just going to keep it here. So there's a couple things I'm going to have to be careful with this here. It's not like nothing's going to be perfect. There's always compromise. There's always going to be some compromise in you know, in your UV edit. So you know, you just pick where is that you know, if you have to sacrifice something, where's that sacrifice going to be less noticeable here? So that's pretty much the concept of UV map here, UV mapping here. You know, with this, I could just select that face here at the top. Here's a quick shortcut to do stuff like this. I know that there's a sort of a, um, I know there's a face here at the back of this thing here, right? If we look in here, I just want to get rid of the sides, so I can just quickly press Control and just marquee over that part, and I know that I'm going to be grabbing that face here. From here, I can just give it that same planar map like that, and you see you've got yourself a nice circle here, which I'm going to do nothing with here, you know, because this, I'm not going to see this circle, so I might as well just delete it off of my model, and that's one less thing to worry about in my mapping, and it's one less thing to worry about, most importantly, on my my UV layout here. So those are some different ways that you could map this out here. So yeah, those are some different ideas here behind the UV maps, and I hope that made some sense. I'm just going to see if I can continue finishing these, you know, this map, and I'll continue the texturing explanation in different video. But for now, I think this gives you more or less an idea of some of the tricks used to lay out the model here in UVs in Maya. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you later.